So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this second lecture in our public lecture series this weekend. Uh, I have the honor to introduce today's speaker, Professor Mahesh Shetti. He has been assistant professor at physics at Wilson College since 2000, where he is now the academic dean as well. Uh, and I know him as most of us know him because he was a faculty with Center for Extramural Studies for their certificate course in astronomy and astrophysics. And he's also an office bearer of the Indian Association for Physics Teachers, Mumbai region, where they do a lot of workshops in physics for students and teachers. And I've had the benefit of attending one of those when I was a college student a long time ago. Wilsonians will know him because he's involved in a number of activities at Wilson. He's in charge of the NEP Curriculum Development Committee. He is the convener for Certificate Courses Committee. Uh, he handles the exam committee, the non-teaching staff committee, incubation cell, and a lot. So he has a lot on his plate, basically. He is known to many Marathi readers as well because he translated Neil deGrasse Tyson's book into Marathi, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. He has also published a paper in IJHS, which is called Laghu Bhaskarya Vivarana of Shankara Narayana, its significance in the history of Kerala astronomy. He also conducts a large number of stargazing sessions for college and school students and has given more than 150 public lectures. So his CV is long and I will waste your time in this. So without much further ado, I hand you over to his safe pair of hands to handle some very, very tricky questions in Indian and modern astronomy. Mahesh Shetti, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ramesh sir, and thank you, INSTUCEN, for giving this opportunity to interact on large scale. So our topic for today, share the screen. I hope it is visible.
It is.
Yeah. So the topic for today is about discussion about Panchaanga and its relevance. So the topic says this is absolute timekeeper. Let's see what is the importance of Panchaanga and how over the time things have changed. So what is Panchaanga? A typical Panchaanga would look like this, where there are multiple columns and tables, and let's see what each of these mean. So Panchaanga, as the name suggests, there are 5 angas, 5 parts. The first part is called Tithi. Now you can see that it is mentioned here, and the Tithi 1, 2, 3, 4, it is typically called, the Sanskrit names are given Pratipada, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, and so on. What are these? So the difference in the longitude of the moon and the sun divided by 12 degrees. Now let's see what that means. So say here, the sun is there, and for a reference, the is shown over here, and the moon's orbit is shown over here. Now these distances are not to the scale, but we are interested in the angles here, because whenever you see in the sky, mainly you look at the angles and not the distances. So that doesn't make a difference. Now here, when the moon exactly comes along the line between Earth and Sun, now keeping in mind that moon's orbit is making some up to 5-degree tilt with respect to the Earth's orbit around the Sun, keeping that in mind, when the longitudes or the projection is exactly along the same line, it is considered at end of Amavasya, and the lunar month ends there and the new month starts. And when the moon completes certain angle, say if it completes 12-degree angle, we say the first tithi is over or pratipada is over. When it completes 2 degrees, 24 degrees, so second tithi will be over. And this is how the tithis are counted. And after 180 degree, it will be 15 tithis are over, or what we'll say Purnima is over, and then again we will continue further. Instead of 16, 17, 18, the general nomenclature is again 1, 2, 3, 4, but it is called Krishna Paksha, or the dark fortnight. Now, if you look at the sky, these are the modern softwares available now to look at the sky. So this is sky on 13th November, and you see this is the position of the sun over here and the position of the moon. Okay, and there are faint lines indicating the uh, longitudes with respect to the Earth's orbit around the sun, which is called ecliptic. And this is approximately the sun and moon both are having the same longitude. They are almost together, but of course moon's orbit is slightly tilted, and therefore it is slightly towards south of sun. And what you observe here is this is the instant we can say Amavasya is over. And you go to the next, 24 degrees east to after 2 days. Okay, it is almost 24 degrees to the eastern side, and moon has crossed, and we say that Dvitiya will be over on this particular day or at this particular instant. So coming back to, this is about the first Anga Tithi. Coming back to the next part, which is Vara. So Vara is nothing but a weekday, and we are all aware about the 7 weekdays, which we still follow in even other calendar, including the Gregorian calendar. The next part of the third Anga is Nakshatra. Nakshatra in Hindu asterism, in which moon resides on that particular day. Now, moon takes 27.33 days to complete one revolution around the earth. So what is done is you take that ecliptic, divide that into 27 parts. No, the integer closer to this 27.33 is taken. So divide that into 27 part, and each part is called one lunar mention or one asterism or one nakshatra. So if moon is in that particular nakshatra, then we'll say on that particular day the moon is in that particular nakshatra. We can go back here and see that after Tithi and Var, nakshatra column is over there. Okay, and this Ghatika and Pala, or Ganta and minute, this is in Hindi. So I will talk about this a bit later. What does this mean? So come back to the what is nakshatra. So we go to this slide over here. See that the sun is here, and this is the orbit of the earth, and these are all distant stars. Now this particular plane you divide into 27 parts, and if you divide into 12 parts you get rashis, and you divide that into 27 parts you get nakshatras. So different nakshatras are shown over here, and they have been named. Say for example, this is today's sky. The moon is close to what is called Kritika nakshatra. Then tomorrow it will be the moon will be close to another nakshatra called Rohini over here, and day after tomorrow it will be close to a particular nakshatra called Mrugashirsha, or the head of deer, Mruga nakshatra. So that is called Mrugashirsha. So every day the moon will travel by certain degrees, and then it will go into the next nakshatra. And typically in this Panchang, what is given over here is when that particular nakshatra moon will cross, which means the end of that nakshatra moment, that is given. So say for example over here it is given in terms of Ganta and minute, that is the hour that is starting from the midnight. Whereas here it is mentioned 4 Ghatika and 0 Pal, which means that the moon will complete that nakshatra. This Pubha stands for Purva Bhadrapada nakshatra. So moon will complete Purva Bhadrapada after 4 Ghatika. Now the entire day is divided into 60 parts, and one part is called Ghatika. So there are different time units which are used. These days, in our for civilian purpose, we use hour and minutes, which is given in terms of Ganta and minute, and this is measured from the midnight. But this Ghatika and Pal is measured, okay, from the uh, sunrise point. And whatever is the tithi going on at the sunrise, that tithi is attached to the entire day. So when Panchang makers make tithi, okay, in a day, at any particular point as moon is continuously moving, okay, moon may go ahead of sun by say 36 degrees, and then we'll say Tritiya is over and Chaturthi started. Now, in the morning it is Tritiya, in the afternoon or maybe in the evening or sometimes in the night it will be Chaturthi, and that can be confusing, and therefore what is decided is for the entire day you decide a particular tithi, and then at particular time, that is at sunrise of the local time, okay, wherever you are, whatever time the sun is rising, at that time, whatever is the tithi, that tithi will be applicable for the whole day. Now, there are sometimes certain problems. The point is, moon does not go around the earth in a nice circular fashion in a uniform way. It comes slightly closer. It is an elliptical orbit. It slightly comes closer. It slightly goes away. And because it slightly comes closer, it moves faster. When it goes away, it moves relatively slower. And then in that case, what happens is there are possibilities that in the entire, from one sunrise to next sunrise, okay, one particular tithi after sunrise, a particular tithi may get over, say Tritiya may get over, Chaturthi starts, and before next sunrise, Chaturthi also will get over and Panchami will start. And in that case, the first day at sunrise, it was Tritiya, the next day at sunrise, it will be Panchami, and then the Chaturthi tithi will not be observed. It's called Kshaya tithi. Sometimes if the moon is going slower, when it is farther away from the earth, okay, at sunrise, say for example, Chaturthi is just begun, okay, and after next sunrise, it ends. So at both sunrises, Chaturthi was there, and then there will be additional Chaturthi. So this, you will have two different Chaturthis. Now, typically this happens, uh, certain rituals, you may follow this. For example, Ekadashi, if you see in different calendars, if there are two Ekadashis come, then the first one is followed by people following the Smritis, and the second one is observed. No, that those rituals are followed by people following the Bhagavata. So it is called Smarta Ekadashi and Bhagavata Ekadashi. Coming back to the next two Angas, Yoga and Karana. So Yoga is basically addition of celestial longitude of the sun and the moon. Then you divide that by 13 degree 20 minutes. So that basically 360 divided by 13 degree 20 minute gives you 27. And so there are 27 yogas. Now they have been given different names, and each has been attributed with certain properties, but we'll come to that immediately after this. And the fifth Anga is Karana, which is half Tithi. So instead of counting for 12 degrees, when 6 degrees are over, say for example, after 24, 30 degrees are over, then you will say that one Karana is over. So every multiple of 6 degrees, one Karana will be over, and that particular time is mentioned over here under Yoga and Karana. So it is also mentioned in Ghatika and Pala. It is also mentioned here at what point, I mean, because these are directly associated with what we call astrological or predictive astrology. The Ghatika and Pala is mentioned, but here in this case, the time, the absolute the time after midnight is not mentioned over here. So we go back to next part. Which parts of the Panchanga are used most? So we talked about 5 Angas: Tithi, Var, okay, and the third one was Nakshatra, fourth and fifth Karana and Yog. Now, if you look at, say, this is one clip from Kala Nirnay, which is commonly used Panchang. Now, if you look at, see, it is mentioning month Kartik. This is for today, 26th of November. Shukla Chaturdashi, and the additional attributes are also given over here. It is also mentioned as Tripurari Purnima. Why it is mentioned as Tripurari Purnima when it is Chaturdashi? Because It was Chaturdashi when sunrise was there. Okay, and it is mentioned that in the afternoon at 3:53, the Chaturdashi Tithi will be over, a Purnima will start, and typically the Purnima or the full moon you will be observing in the evening. Okay, and the rituals related to this, like lighting the lamps, will be happening in the evening, and that time Purnima will be there. So Tripurari Purnima will be is also mentioned on this particular date. But you see over here, this is not the complete Panchangas or 5 parts. Tithi is mentioned, the Var was mentioned on the front page, okay, but Nakshatra is not mentioned, Yoga is not mentioned, Karana is not mentioned. Why so? Weekday is observed in most other calendrical systems. Tithi is mainly used to decide the day for Hindu religious festivals and many times the rituals also. Now it is obvious why calendars like Kajan show only Tithi and Vara on the front page and Nakshatra on the back page, because this is what you will observe. Most of the other things you will not be really observing. So say for example, this is what the back page looks like for Kali. And see here, this is November. I have not put the today's date. I just wanted to show what all things are mentioned in the on the back page. So Nakshatra is not typically used for deciding most festivals. That's why it's not used on the front page. Yoga and Karana are relevant purely for astrological predictions. And we'll come to astrological predictions in later part. So here you see that the Gregorian date is given, Vara is given, Tithi is given, the time at which the Tithi will get over, that is given. Nakshatra is given and Nakshatra Samapti, that is at what time it will be over, it is given. Now you can see that 28.35 hours. Now what does that mean? Day is 24 hours. So what is done is, say for example, the Tithi or Nakshatra gets over, say in the night, after midnight. Now, so after midnight, suppose it gets over at 1 o'clock. So the common practice is call it 25 hours, because the nakshatra was counted from today and it has got over after today's midnight. Okay, so 25 hours, or now in this case 28 hours, that means 4 hours 35 minutes on the Thursday, because this is time given for Wednesday. So when it is 28:35, it means 4 hours 35 minutes on Thursday. Okay, so this is generally a practice which is given. Then there are different names, 27 different names for yoga, and there are certain names for Karana which keep repeating, but we are not talking about it right now, because these are mainly used for astrological purpose, which talks about, for certain sacrifice, or whether certain particular time is auspicious or less auspicious, or you should do things, you should not do things. All those kind of things are mentioned by the predictive astrology, and they mainly use this yoga and current. When it comes to looking into the sky, the Tithi and Nakshatra become relevant, because that is what you can see in the sky. I showed you those two pictures, the picture where what is the phase, at what angle the moon is, and the picture where the moon is in nakshatra, particular nakshatra. So say for example here, okay, that moon is near Mrigashirsha nakshatra, or on earlier date moon is near say Rohini nakshatra. Now this is for tomorrow. So Panchang is called mirror of the sky. So with Panchang one can tell the position of sun and moon in the sky. So you know the Tithi, for example, then you can approximately tell at what time it will be, the moon will be there in the sky. Say, for example, if it is Purnima, then you know that Purnima is 180 degrees apart. The moon and sun are 180 degrees apart. So typically near the sunset, the moon will rise, and near sunrise, the moon will set. So throughout the night, the moon will be there in the sky and it will be full moon. Now, if you look at, say, for example, the Tithi of Chaturthi, Chaturthi is 4 days, and every day, the moon will rise 50 minutes late, and on new moon day, okay, the moon and sun will rise together, and if it is Chaturthi, that means you can count that 4 into approximately 0.8, okay, and the moon will rise about 3 hours after the sun has risen. So maybe moon will rise in the morning around 9 o'clock or so, and moon will also set then about 3.5 hours after the sunset. So that is, moon will typically set around 9 or 10 o'clock in the night. Now this is about the Shukla Chaturthi. If it is Krishna Chaturthi, which is also celebrated in a ritual form as Sankashti, it will be exactly opposite, and moon will be typically rising in the night around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. So Panchang, with the help of especially the two Angas, Tithi and Nakshatra, we can tell where the position of the moon and sun is. So with this, in principle, one can get the position of the star. For example, when you know that the moon is in the nakshatra of Rohini tomorrow, you can go in the sky and observe if the stars are visible. Now, typically from city lights, it's not, and especially on full moon day, it's really bad to see things. But well, Rohini is a relatively bright star, and therefore you should be able to see that star close to the moon. That can be seen. But point is, how many even observe the daily lunar phase? So though we say that Panchang is very useful, it has got a proper astronomical, observational, the scientific kind of a basis. Okay, the question is, uh, if Panchangs are not, Panchangs are not there, is it possible for people to decide what the TS is? How many people actually will use that? Or how many people are actually using the data which is given in some form or the other as ready reckoner? So there are multiple apps now. They give positions of all the planets in the sky with modern mathematical models. And only for the purpose of knowing stellar position, therefore one need not depend on Panchang, though Panchang many times gives good amount of information. Okay, what all different things are there in the sky, the position of the star, the position of these planets, position of different planets, which is not part of Panchang, but that is generally given by these Panchang makers. Okay, so those who want to study astronomy, apart from the various apps, one may go and refer also to the data given in the Panchang. But that is for academic interest. For civilian purpose, it really doesn't become very useful. Say, for example, over here, this is important information for astronomers mentioned in most of the Panchangs. Though it is not actually part of Panchang. It is not part of those 5 parts. Okay, the position of Surya, Chandra, Mangal, Buddha, all these are planets. The positions are given, and they are given in a particular format. For example, this is Rashi, Anka, Ansha, Kala, and Vikala. So it means that after one Rasi is over, that is one zodiacal sign is over, 24 degrees, Ansha is degree, 57 minutes, that is Kala, and Vikala is 30 seconds. So the position of Mars will be typically from the first point, from wherever you are starting the first point, and that's the different thing between in different Panchangs. Where do you start your Panchang calculation? So here it starts from particular point in which is right now in the uh, zodiacal sign, or which is right now in the um, constellation of Pisces. Okay, from where we measure all these angles, and after one ras or one zodiacal sign is over, that is after 30 degrees or over, additional 24 degrees you go, and then 57 minutes, that is approximately 25 degrees you go, and then you will find the position of Mars. This is on this particular date. Okay, this is on 1st March 2023 date. I've just put one particular screenshot over here. Okay, I'm not talking everything about today, but this gives you certain idea that how Panchang may also give additional data which might be useful for astronomers. Okay, but we will come back to the civilian purpose, because for astronomers large number of other apps are available. So there are apps, like for example, this is one of the very famous app, Stellarium. Large number of people use. In fact, the earlier images that I showed, the screenshots of where the moon will be today or tomorrow, that was from using Stellarium app. This is another app called SkyMap Pro. And using these apps, it is possible to determine the positions of the planets, not only in the immediate past, but also a few thousand years ago or another few thousand years hence. So it is possible to use these more precise mathematical apps and determine the, I know you want to stick to the Tithi calculation for deciding for celebrating certain festival. It is possible to use these kind of apps. What is the purpose of astronomy when it comes to the ancient astronomers? So they mentioned that it is to enable determination of three things: Kala, Desha, and Dik, or time, place, and direction. Effectively, it is like a global positioning. Now, it also mentions in certain texts that the purpose of Shastra is to create in students the capacity for investigating the motion of celestial objects. So it turns out that many of these things were designed originally to determine the positions, and the determining position of celestial bodies help us to for timekeeping. Okay, uh, in a way of calendar. And it is also mentioned that purpose of Ganita Shastra is to enable computation of the movements, orbits, rising, setting, etc. of celestial objects. The purpose of giving this over here is that the motions of the planets are not simple, uniform, circular. The motion of moon and sun is also not uniform, circular. And that's the difference between, if you look at Vedanga Jyotish, which is typically dated somewhere around 1200 BCE, it assumes that motion of the sun and moon are uniform. Whereas the later text, the Aryabhata's text, and the later astronomers, so Aryabhata's time was, he was born in 476 Common Era CE, and later astronomers, they have realized that the motion of the moon and sun are not uniform. So they need to give corrections. And there is a huge big gap, time gap between the, say, Vedanga Jyotish period and the period of Aryabhata. So more than 1,500 years. Difference is there. So one realizes that there has been evolution in the methods. People have changed the techniques. People have changed the methods. And these methods, people try to make better and better by observations. So what is the special feature of ancient Indian astronomy, or what is also referred to as Hindu astronomy, as far as when it comes to ancient astronomical calculations across the various different cultures? So Indian astronomers continue to concentrate on refining the basic astronomical parameters to arrive at a better accord with observations in each school of thought, rather than deciding what is real picture of the world. So whether the earth moves or the sun was not an important question for them. If two different schools of thought cause no problem in observation, then both should be treated equivalent. Okay, that was one of the important thing people believed in. Its calculation, those result you compare with what is there in the actually in the sky. Okay, and if two different methods are giving you the same kind of calculation, that's perfectly okay. You can use any method. Causality was not there. So in Shastra like Jyotish, it's mentioned in some of the ancient texts, the student should be free to use or adopt any satisfactory model that is one's liking. So when these things are mentioned, okay, now let us see how this kind of philosophy or this kind of thinking can be extended further. When we say that Panchang has become obsolete, that was the title of this particular talk. Now, obsolete does not mean it is wrong. Absolute does not mean okay, it is giving you wrong calculations. It only means that it is at times become redundant. And let's see why. And of course, there will be many question marks with this, that how do you say it is redundant? How do you say, it is, what are the other things? So let's come to that. With modern calendrical softwares or the various different planetarium apps, Panchang can be considered to be an obsolete. Solar calendars are easy to use. They involve simple maths. And all timekeeping methods need good maths. So though very useful once upon a time, now calendar and apps are more useful and relevant. And as we said that whichever method is giving you correct answer, that method is fine. That's what the earlier logic was also. Panchang is a ready reckoner for festival dates. Now you want to decide, you want to celebrate a particular festival. Okay, when is that tithi going to be? Now, instead of sitting with calculation, somebody gives you those ready-made dates. That's what people use. That's how various holidays, various public holidays are decided. Okay, nobody goes and does the calculation for Tithi. Nobody doesn't no does the calculation whether there is going to be intercalary month, Adhika Mas will be there, and therefore Ganapati you have to celebrate a month later. Nobody is going to do that. Okay, people are going to use some ready reckoner. So Panchang can become one ready reckoner. But if Panchang can become ready reckoner, the table given by government also can become an equivalent ready reckoner. So which calendar system is more useful for common people? Let's come to the civilian purpose. Let's look at a problem. Calculate the number of days between these two dates. So on one side, suppose I'm using Gregorian calendar, 12th March to 17th June. How many days are there? And I give you Ashad Krishna Dashami to Kartik Shukla Panchami. How many days are there? Which is easy. Of course, because we are been using Gregorian calendar regularly. Okay, this might become very easy because you will count that 12th March to 31st March you have to count, and then 30 days of April and 31 days of May and then 17 days of June. This is how you will do the calculation. And you'll say, okay, 97 days. Now you may need this information for various different kind of things, tax calculation or various other kind of calculations. When it comes to tithis, it is not very obvious. And all of us have been using, I mean, large number of us have been using the ready reckoners to recognize tithis and celebrate with different festivals. But we are not counting using these tithis anyway. That's why it becomes very difficult. So you can still do if it is Krishna Dashami. Okay, Ashad, another 5 days will be there, and then Shravan 30 tithis will be there, and Bhadrapad 30 tithis will be there, because every month there will be 30 tithis. Okay, and then Ashwin 30 tithis will be there, Kartik, it is Shukla Panchami, so 5 tithis will be there. And when you do all this, effectively you'll get 100 tithis, but 100 tithis not 100 days. You have to divide by 30 and multiply with this, because one lunar month is 29.52 days, and that makes it 98.4 days. Now, from what point to what point you want to count, whether you want to count 98 days or you want to count this as 99 days and accordingly decide the dates. Okay, that depends, because ultimately the tithi will be calculated from the sunrise point for a particular day. Okay, and therefore this becomes more complicated. When you want to round it off, whether you want to round it off to 98 or 99 will be a tricky question. That kind of thing will not be happening here. Let's see, now calculate the 45 days. For example, there are university rules which says that after the exam in 45 days you should declare the result. You have exam got over on 12th of April. So you can count 18 days of April are remaining, 27 days of May, that will make it total 45 days. So your result should be out before this. But what if exam got over in Chaitra Shukla Trayodashi? 45 days. How do you count? So 45 days will make 45 plus some extra tithis. And then Chaitra will have 17 tithis, remaining 17 tithis. Vaishak will have 29 tithis, and that will add up to 45. And then 29 tithis would mean that Krishna Chaturdashi, again you have to decide that on Krishna Chaturdashi, you will have to again sunrise time, whether Krishna Chaturdashi is matching or not. Okay, so a day earlier or a day later. Okay, those kind of ambiguities are still going to be there. What will be the day next year for the same date? Now, this can be useful some cases where especially public holidays are concerned. So, for example, this year Children's Day is on to Tuesday. Next year, we know that same date appears on the next day when it comes to Gregorian calendar, because there are 52 weeks make it 364 days, and then there are 365 days. And next year being a leap year, it is going to be just one extra day. So next year it should, in general, should have been on Wednesday if it is this year on Tuesday, but due to leap year, 2024 is a leap year. Okay, it's going to be on Thursday instead of Wednesday. Now, Bali Pratipada, which was this year no match on this particular day, is on Tuesday. Next year, when will the Bali Pratipada be? So next year it will come 10 days in advance, because we have to talk about 12 lunar months and 3 days earlier. So if you're only sticking to the purely lunar calendar, then probably this may not be even a question. Okay. But again, deciding a weekday for a particular date is more difficult. So if there is an intercalary month, then it will be a day or two later. And so it could be on Wednesday or Thursday, and you do the calculation in opposite way. Okay. Because this year in Shravan it was Adhik Mas or intercalary month. Okay. So last year's date you want to day you want to count, then 10 days later would not have worked, 1 year behind and 10 days later, because there was additional month or intercalary month. So these kind of uh, typical civilian questions when you are facing, okay, one realizes that the solar calendar become very useful or relevant. Now, about predicting corrections. So leap year is one kind of correction in Gregorian calendar, or in any solar calendar it will be. And intercalary month is the correction between the lunisolar calendar. That means the calendar which mainly runs on the lunar months, but there is an intercalary month to adjust the seasons. So calculating leap year to adjust extra day is easy. What you do is every 4 years there is a leap year, and that makes it approximately 365.25 the length of the year, but actual length of the tropical year is slightly smaller than that, and therefore you need some extra correction, and that correction is done is every century will not be leap year unless it is divisible by 400. For example, the year 2100 will not be a leap year, though it is divisible by 4, because it is a century year and it is not divisible. 2100 is not divisible by 400. Also, where to put the leap year, where to put that extra day. So it is decided that it will be always at the end of the February. So this helps in precisely deciding and counting calculations. On the other hand, intercalary month, if you consider, in every 3 years, approximately one intercalary month will come. And then there are 7 intercalary months in 19 years. So it is not in 21 years. In 19 years, 7 intercalary months come. Which month will be intercalary is again decided by precise math. So there is a math involved. Okay. But it is not very easy to guess. So when we are talking about the calculation, what is easy, what is difficult, for civilian purpose, we would go for typically something which is very easy, and it is difficult to guess which month is going to be intercalary, which means you will need a ready reckoner. Somebody has to do the calculation, give you. This year intercalary month was before Shravan, but that does not help guess quickly which one will be the next time. So after another 2 years, there will be intercalary month, but which one will be that? This year it was Shravan. Now it's not easy to guess. So misconception about the year beginning. Okay, January is not astronomically significant. That is correct. So originally in Roman calendar, Christmas was connected with winter solstice. And with multiple modifications, it is no more precisely. So though this particular objection is there that the starting of the year is not astronomically significant. Yes, it is right for Gregorian calendar. But even for Panchaanga, okay, the Chaitra doesn't exactly start with the spring, because we are talking about lunar months. It's connected with seasons. Okay, it is typically go around the spring, not exactly. So seasons are decided by solar positions, and the panchang that large number of people use is mainly lunar panchang, and it is adjusted periodically to match the solar position by the intercalary months. So New Year begins with end of Amavasya of Falgun, and that is approximately around vernal equinox, but not exactly. It is not connected to vernal equinox directly. So Hindu solar calendar can also begin with, there are Hindu solar calendar which begins new year 3 weeks after the vernal equinox. So typically on 14th of April, it will start the solar calendar. Okay. And that uh, is not vernal equinox, because vernal equinox is on 21st of March approximately. So you see there is about 3 weeks, and this period will go on increasing. And that period is given in the many Panchangas as I announced here. Okay. At one particular point, the I announced is mentioned. So, okay, I think. Yeah. So how to celebrate now? The question comes that, okay, how to celebrate festivals without Panchang? Because you want to celebrate festivals, surely. So we love celebrations. We love celebrations. We love festivals. We love to follow traditions. Uh, all that is right. Okay, and that's basic human nature. But celebrations keep changing. Now, take a best example here is how Maharashtra Times once started this new ritual, effectively new ritual. It became a tradition now. Okay, almost 20 years now. That they decided that every day, okay, people can wear particular color, and they can send those photographs to Maharashtra Times, and Maharashtra Times will publish that. And when this started, it was kind of a popularizing uh, the newspaper itself. Okay, it was kind of a PR game, and they were very successful. It has effectively become a tradition. Now, not only Maharashtra Times, other newspapers and other places also, you see these things, you see these colors. Okay, so it has effectively become a ritual. So new traditions can always be formed. All the data that Panchang makers take is mainly from this Positional Astronomy Center, which is under Ministry of Earth Science. And they have about various different kind of information. Now, say entry for today. Okay, there are various, all of you can go to their website and check. The entry for today says it is Sunday, it is 5th Agrahayan, that is the national solar calendar. And then it also talks about the Tithi. Okay, it is Kartika Shukla Chaturdashi. And it talks about Nakshatra, that today it is the moon will be near Bharani. Okay, and it talks about the other information. So the point is, all this information is available ready reckoner with Positional Astronomy Center, and most calendar Panchang makers use this data. They make an interesting disclaimer, and that is something really interesting. So it says here purely as a public service. This site is providing data purely as a public service by Positional Astronomy Center. And though this data is large number of times used by astrologers, it also puts a disclaimer that whatever damages or happen or lost profit resulting from any use or misuse of the information on the web page. So they are putting a disclaimer that we are not responsible if we use this data and make any kind of prediction and that goes wrong. So they specifically say it is any use or misuse of this information. And a kind of a claim any scientist would make or an astronomer would make is that astrology, or what is called Falajyotish, is a misuse of this information. Well, there are set of rules. We come to that. Diwali can always be celebrated using coordinates of the sun and the moon using modern software. So we can declare public holidays. We need data averaged over larger area. And the correction for local sunrise is done by Panchang makers. But same Panchang is used over large area. That defeats the purpose of local calculations. So Panchangs are used as ready reckoner to decide festival, but there are always limitations. Take example over here. This is the Kali Nirnay on left hand side, which is typically the calculations can be done for Mumbai. And you see here in the month of September this year, the Ganesh Chaturthi was the 19th of September. The Chaturthi was on 19th of September. And this is Adrik Panchang now, which is, see, if you calibrate it for New York, large number of people in US use this. And it shows Ganesh Chaturthi on 18th. Why so? Because uh, as we saw the Chaturthi calculation, the when 36-degree moon goes 36 degrees ahead of sun, Tritiya gets over, Chaturthi starts. Now that started after the sunrise of 18th, but before sunrise of 18th in US. After the sunrise of 18th in Mumbai, but before sunrise of 18th in US. And therefore 18th became the Ganesh Chaturthi for the people in, say, New York or people around that place, whereas for Mumbai or for Maharashtra or for in India, it was not on 18th. Okay, it was on 19th because the Chaturthi was on the sunrise of 19th. So, though you may design a Panchang for a particular place, if it is being used by a larger area, say entire Maharashtra, it may happen that, say in Mumbai and Nagpur, the longitudes are different and there's a big difference and the Tithis won't match for particular festivals. So if you're going to stick to particular festival, okay, particular festivals can be declared by some particular agency and that everybody can follow. So how do Panchang makers decide position? So many algorithms are already given by the ancient texts like Surya Siddhanta and other ancient texts to calculate positions of sun, moon and planets. To precisely calculate positions in the sky, one need to add correction factor periodically. Most Panchang makers do not have their own observatories. Panchang makers use data from ephemeris published by this Position Astronomy Center, or sometimes they may be directly using the data given by NASA. Even Easter calculations need the precise position of the sun. Okay, and typically the way Easter is decided, that is very interesting that you take a full moon day after 21st of March or vernal equinox, and then the Sunday after that becomes the Easter, and 2 days before that Good Friday. So Easter calculations are done in the same way, but then there are people who are using modern software, the calculation of Easter, and that is used as ready reckoner for people who observe the Easter. So same method can be used for other festivals. The ready reckoners can be given, and Panchang, of which only 2 angas are used for the typically these festive things, okay, may not be continued. So why then Panchang is so famous? There are no mentions of astrology in the works of Aryabhata or Bhaskara I. When it comes to astrology, there are no mentions of astrology in the works of Aryabhata or Bhaskara I. Varaha Meher is credited with introducing astrology in India, and he also records that it is import from Yavanas or Greeks. Varaha Meher wrote Panchasiddhantika, the treatise on 5 theories, out of which he says that Surya Siddhanta is very useful and good. That is one of the best. But he also wrote Romaka Siddhanta, and it is about Roman astronomical theories and calculations. And he also wrote the Paulisha Siddhanta, which is associated with Paulus of Alexandria, that is the Greek culture. So Greek astronomical theories developed in Egypt, they are mentioned here. So Varahamir did talk about did compiled this work by other cultures, especially the Romans and the Alexandrians. And present theories of astrology and Jatakas are the pure works of Greeks. Said that, was there astrology in Vedas? In a different form. Yajurvedas does contain calculations of astronomical positions of planets, Vedanga Jyotish for that purpose. But Vedic astrology is associated with calculating auspicious times to please various deities. It describes which type of yajnas or sacrificial rituals will give what kind of fortunes. And Vedas and Vedanga Jyotish do not contain any connection with place and time of birth of a person. So whatever we call Jatakas, okay, they are never mentioned in Vedanga Jyotish. So they are mainly talking about precisely deciding the time when which planet will go in which particular position, and then that is which, say, good muhurta, or that is good time for performing certain sacrifices. So Vedas do not talk about the Swala Jyotish or astrology that is more common today in India. And then it does talk about various different type of ritual uh, fire piles. And say, for example, look at the purpose: to seek place in the heaven. Okay, you will have Shelachiti, and to destroy brothers and their future generations, you will have this Ubhayata, Praugachiti, and so on. And there is, when people talk about the mathematics involved in Shulba Sutras, those are mainly to design these kind of uh, fireplaces. So all the mathematics that is given in Shulba Sutra is for this determining positions. Coming back to the astrological aspects, why it is redundant, but still it is popular. What make astrology popular? One, it is innate human curiosity. People want to know what is going to happen. Okay, people are curious, and also there is a fear. Okay, that what will happen if this goes this way or that goes that way. So basically, there is innate human curiosity. We all believe in causality. I'm purposely saying we all believe in causality, and we wish to find any connection with cosmic bodies, especially when you don't find the easy connection here. People cannot think of complexities involved in future course events. Okay, today with modern computation, it is possible to predict weather, the cloud, and we know that you need supercomputer kind of calculations because there are so many different parameters involved in that. Okay, supercomputers are being used to make certain predictions in economics. And not always, again, those go very well. So imagine when even relatively simple calculators are not available. Okay, how would people start thinking about what could have caused what? Human brain is cognitive miser. So if you can find a solution in a simple way, or you may want to make a connection in a simple way, you will do that, and you will not go in a more rigorous way. Now that you may not bother about whether that simple way is right or wrong, and we'll come to that. There are various philosophical theories about it, psychological theories also about it, and studies are there. And believing in Supreme God and understanding omens makes life easier. Uh, that's that's why the astrology becomes very popular. That you know many times, many people, I mean, human beings are social animals, and having some Mr. India is always useful to solve your problems. Kepler also had redundant laws, but now we no more use them. So once you realize that, I mean, it is not a problem of one culture or another culture. Okay, people come out with people. Now Kepler was before what we call modern science developed. Okay, he was contemporary of Galileo. Okay, but he came out with certain mathematical correlations. Okay, which we don't teach now because we realize that it is redundant. It is not useful. Okay, so whatever is redundant can be easily given away. If you are, people like to play games like this. Okay, if I'm a Harry Potter fan, I would like to see, okay, suddenly somebody says, okay, you are born on 18th of November, then okay, Molly Weasley 18th, and November is got expelled. Okay, I mean, you would like to make some kind of connection like this. If you're a fan of the Lord of the Rings, then you will make these kind of connections. But that's like, people love to have these kind of correlations and try to see that you are connected with somebody who is famous, you are connected with Supreme God, you are connected with maybe supreme power or things like that, and that's where lots of metaphysics happens. So how is scientific prediction different then? Science uses mathematical laws of nature to predict future events. The use causality, cause precedes the effect. and also explain how things happen. It is not empirical and arbitrary. I mean, it will not only show the cause and effect, but it will also say that how that thing will happen, how it will affect other parameters, and what will be the course. So entire thing can be calculated using mathematical laws. These calculations involve only the factors that directly affect the system with known mathematical law. To predict the motion of missile, for example, the calculation will involve measurement of air pressure, temperature, wind velocity, and so on. But it may not bother about calculating the effect of Mars or a moon on the missile, because we know that gravitational effect of Mars or moon is going to be very, very small, negligible as compared to the effect by other parameters. So there can be no causal connection between trajectories of missile and the location of Mars, and therefore you may not bother about this. Though we know that gravitational force exists, we know that the magnitude is going to be so small that it can be easily, nicely neglected. You will not make a connection that Mars being god of war, it should have more influence on a missile than another body of same mass. These kind of things play no role in the modern science. Okay, it is purely given the relation between two bodies having particular mass and a distance. Okay, if mass is same, whatever may be the purpose, the effect is going to be same. There are no tricks like using god of wind if the missile is used to study the atmosphere, and using god of war if it is used against enemy. So the same missile can be sent for studying the atmosphere. Okay, I mean, same rocket could be sent to study the atmosphere. Same rocket can be used to send a missile, and you will not invoke the god of wind for one purpose and god of war for another purpose. I mean, there are no tricks like that in scientific predictions. There is no place for psychological effect of the operator of missile, so that I am sending this particular astra, and then I thought of this kind of destruction, and therefore that kind of destruction happened. That kind of psychological effect are not involved. Okay, this is called objectivity. There is no subjectivity about the calculation. There is nothing about a person who's doing that calculation. It is the laws of which govern the objects. Question is, in spite of scientific evidences, why astrology is still surviving? The astrology continues to be popular because there is argumentation here. Because majority believe, people think that that might be true. Now, in spite of giving statistical evidences and large number of other contradictory evidences, people may still think that, okay, but so many people believe, so there must be some kind of truth in it. Okay, so that is called argumentation theory. Just because majority may believe, people think that it might be true. Then there are confirmation biases, and that you can see nowadays with WhatsApp University. People tend to remember only that data which supports their belief system. Okay, I mean, take example of you are in a hurry, you want to go to your workplace and you miss a train. Okay, every time you have missed the train earlier, you may recall that. Okay, I'm in a hurry and that day only I missed the train. But there are so many other times that you might have you were in a hurry, you might have got the train, but you have not recalled that. So confirmation biases are always there. Cherry picking. One example that supports the belief is given more weightage. And I was reading uh, the autobiography of one of the ISRO chairman, where he does talk about how the astrologer uh, predicted about the death of his mother, I mean, the relative. And he mentions that. Now, it's called cherry picking, that one particular example you are giving. Now, that example could have been given just for the sake of maybe an interest, but uh, no comment was made about it. It was only given as example, giving an impression that, okay, I mean, whether I don't believe in it, but maybe the astrology is still correct, something like that. So that's cherry picking. You give one example, as against there could be large number of examples which are against the belief. Then there is something called Semmelweis reflex, tendency to refute anything that does not support. Okay, and you see with when especially the society become polarized, okay, this tendency becomes very strong. That anything that doesn't follow your belief system, you will straight away reject it. And that these are psychological effects. And then there is selective perception, the selectively following opinion that support the belief system. So somebody is, you know, following your opinion, okay, then you start believing in whatever that person says, and you ignore other opinions. So that is where the fast thinking, slow thinking comes into picture. That people many times take decision not based on the evidences. Many times they take decision based on the emotions. And of course, there is this great phenomena called God fixation. Since gods control all our events and their future actions can be perceived through omens and can be mitigated through proactive steps by humans. Now, that is again one of the strong reason people believe that uh, the astrology could be surviving, because people believe in God and people believe in some kind of supreme entity, and people believe that that supreme entity could be controlling everything. So these are various different examples. These are various different reasons why people will still believe that, in spite of giving large number of evidences, okay, people may still believe that this could be uh, true. If we know that it's not, and therefore, when it comes to Panchang, only two angas be used for civilian purpose. Three we are not using at all, and therefore it becomes effectively redundant. It becomes obsolete. So while we appreciate the great work done by ancient astronomers to observe and precisely formulate the mathematics to predict the position of the sun, moon, and planets, we also recognize the evolution of knowledge and society. We have to believe that, people have come out with better methods, people have come out with better theories as the human society has evolved. Okay, the belief in, not belief, but okay, we can recognize that, the society is changing and we can follow that. So look at the context. Information without context can be completely misleading. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We will open the forum to questions. So participants can unmute themselves and ask questions if they want, or they can type in the chat box. It was a very enlightening lecture, and you certainly went to great pains to differentiate between what was obsolete and what was unscientific. Because I think we often, uh, there are two schools I've noticed. One is to dismiss everything as unscientific, which is done in the past, or to go the other way and say everything was scientific and you are, you're a conspiracy to hide the Indians, you stole all our stuff, all that. So sometimes I think we don't find that.
There
Uh,
are there are papers where, for example, KD Abhankar has uh, done a study, and he shows that uh, there are a lot of, say for example, Tithi calculations. Babylonians, you know, uh, got from Indians, whereas the concept of weekdays we have got from them. So there are there were a lot of exchanges between different various cultures, and one has to recognize that it is the human progress, it is the human endeavor. Okay, so there are entries like Lagna, for example. Aniket has asked, Lagna implies whichever at zodiacal sign is rising. So at that, say for example, at the time of birth, it said Lagna Ras is this. So what does it mean? That the moon could be anywhere in the sky, the sun could be anywhere in the sky, depending on the daytime and depending on the tithi. But at that particular time, particular zodiacal sign was rising, or particular nakshatra is rising. So that is called Lagna. And astrologers make kind of connections with that. But as we said that, the scientific causality and objectivity does not play a role. The same people, you can have multiple people born on the same day. Forget about people living in far off areas, people living in a small region, people living in the same village. Okay, there is this birthday, interesting result of a birthday problem, that if there are random 23 people in a group, there are more than 50% chances that two of them will have same birth date. Uh, Now, if you are in a school classroom, the chances the year is also going to be same, and therefore there is always a possibility, high possibility, more than 50% chances that two students in the same class will have same birth date, and they are living in the same village, they are living close by, and you see that they are having different kind of futures. So, I mean, statistically, astrology has been debunked long ago. Okay, there is a question: what instrument would the ancient people have used to measure these quantitative divisions? Did Indians have astrolabe kind of thing as was used in other cultures? There have been instruments mentioned. There have been instruments mentioned, but for precision, uh, the instrument did not be very highly precise. Okay, to give an example, what they used was coincidence method. Okay, say for example, let me give an example. You are walking in a jogger's path, and you are moving at a particular rate, and then another person is also moving with another rate, and then you realize that you are overtaking a particular person every after few laps. Now, uh, what happens is after 2 3 laps you realize that both of you are walking at constant rate, you are walking at your rate, another person is walking at his or her rate. Okay, and you are overtaking that person, once near one tree, another time maybe near another tree, and then you start at times, out of curiosity, you start at times calculating that when will I next time overtake that person. Okay, and that is called coincidence method. Now connect, bring this to the astronomy. So it is like when two planets will uh, come and one planet will overtake the other planet. It is called Yuti. So they have come together and Yutis have been precisely noted. And then where exactly? So it's like where did I overtake a person? Near which tree or which lamppost? Now that is similar to in which nakshatra or within a particular nakshatra, in how many degrees the Yuti took place. So if you note down these things over a multiple times, then it is easy to go for a precision of 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10 lakhs or okay, a million and so on. So having precise timer is not important, but noting down that particular yuti or coincidence multiple times over a period is something very important, and where exactly it has happened. So that helps. So many times people are amazed by the precision of 6 7 significant digits, but you don't need the instrument that will measure 6 7 significant digits. It's the coincidence method that gives you this kind of precise results. There is next question, Sushrut. Yeah, thank you. uh, okay, have there been any double blind or controlled tests performed on astrological predictions? There have been, though I don't have right now the data, but Narlikar had uh, mentioned some data. Whether Aniket may know whether modern tests are done. Aniket, are you aware of
Yeah,
any?
Narlikar study which you mentioned was done 2009. Narlikar, Narendra Dabholkar, Prakash Pandey, and one more, four people were authors of that study. And there they had done this study with 200 people, 200 young kids. So they collected their date of birth and made their horoscopes. Out of this 200 100 were extraordinarily talented academically in academic terms, extraordinarily talented students, and 100 people were kind of mentally retarded or slow learner kind of that kind of group. So there was a clear distinction. There could not have been ambiguity between who likely to do academically well and who is not likely to do academically well. And then they asked various astrologers to uh, take any random 40 horoscopes out of that and predict which of them would be actually perform academically well. And several astrologers tried to accept the challenge, but nobody could uh, get the hit rate better than random chance. So, if, for example, if you had just flipped the coins and decided, okay, this person will do well and this person will not, you would have got like 20 out of 40 correct by your random chance. And most astrologers got rates very similar to that. So this is just one example that, but there have been more than 70, 80 studies in last 60 years all over the world doing very similar things and all showing that astrology doesn't work.
Thanks, Aniket.
Time to thank you, Mahesh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, then I think we should stop here, and maybe we will have a detailed
Ma'am, there's one
lecture.
question from YouTube.
Oh, is that so? Okay, please go ahead.
Urvashi Korde asks, how were the measurements made in earlier times to form the Panchanga?
So there were observations, as I mentioned, and as I mentioned just now, that the observations were done. You can see planets, and when there are no electricity, surely the most of the places were good places, unless the sky is cloudy, and one can make the observations for sure. One can also note down which particular planet is close to which particular star, and based on that, the calculations are done. Now, the calculations during daytime is done by the extrapolation. So daytime you are not able to observe the stars, but that calculation is done by extrapolation, because every day you are going to observe the sky. You can easily realize that
1090
how you can easily see that how the positions of the planets and the stars will can are repetitive, and once knowing that, it is possible to do the calculation, extrapolate and do the calculation. The preciseness of the calculation, though instruments have been mentioned by later astronomers like second Bhaskaracharya, instruments have been mentioned. As I mentioned, that coincidence method helps you to decide precise calculations, even if you do not have very precise measuring instruments. Keeping the data, keeping the record for a long time is something really very important. And that must have been a really very, very important part of the society, where particular schools have continued their observations or data recording over a long period. We also have such kind of records in other cultures and other traditions. The various tablets have been formed. The tablets have been formed from various different cultures, where astronomical data or the data of the moon phase, those kind of things are given clearly. So, and there is always a reason that if scholars are open-minded, they can always receive and exchange their methods with others and learn from others. So, if the trade was happening between India and the neighboring cultures, then surely the exchange of ideas was happening, and the people who were involved in this calculation surely must have been open-minded people to exchange these ideas, learn from them, and also share their knowledge to others.
Thanks a lot, sir. Do we have any more questions? No. So as of now, that's it, sir. Ma'am, you want to say something?
No, thanks. I think we should wind up. Thank you, Mahesh. Thanks
Thank you.
for attending.
Thank you so much, sir. Alan, you can disconnect the YouTube.